Welcome to Sykes, the Bottom Line Pharmacy Podcast, your regular dose of pharmacy CPA advice to fuel your bottom line, featuring pharmacists, key vendors, and other innovators.
Your checks, yes, you can call me, because we the best.
So Nicolette, welcome back to another episode of the Bottom Line Pharmacy Podcast. Nicolette Mathey with Atrium 24 today. One of our regulars on the podcast, if you will. Welcome. Glad to have you.
Just sent somebody your way this morning, a client on the call.
All right. Glad to be here. A lot going on in pharmacy.
Yeah.
There is a lot going on. I mean, a lot. You got this Change Healthcare fiasco, the DR fee hangover, the change in reimbursements. What else, Nicolette? What else do you want to add to that?
There's a lot of opportunity too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like it.
You know, so you always try to
keep it on the positive.
Yeah, because you have to. So we definitely need to advocate for change in reimbursements and in everything that's going on the legislative side. And in the meantime, what are we going to do? So I think it's interesting with all of this happening, with double DIR going on, and now DIR is paid at the point of sale, so it's supposed to be more transparent. So I'm really looking forward to, we're not there yet, but when pharmacy owners actually have that visibility and real-time analytics into what the heck's going on, so that they can make informed decisions. Because just historically, you know, with your cash flow, you guys know best, pharmacies don't know which way's up.
Right.
It's just so hard to predict everything. So you can never completely eliminate that, but I definitely think now is the time to understand, you know, in the pharmacy business, what are our levers that we can push to drive profitability? And the only way that we're going to understand that in each unique pharmacy instance, because every pharmacy that we all work with is very unique. The only way you're going to be able to do that is to analyze and dissect the data in real time with data analytics tools. And so I've become painfully aware of how complicated that is now that I'm not really a pharmacist day to day anymore. I don't even know what to tell people what I do when they ask me, but I guess I own a tech company. So I've been learning a lot about DevOps and SecOps and IT ops, and they abbreviate everything, but like with half words. Pharmacies like acronyms, but technology's like half words, but it's like cybersecurity, as you alluded to, is a big thing.
It is.
Even just managing your cloud environment and infrastructure. And we don't really think about it. Even our pharmacies, we have to worry about cybersecurity with our PMS and all of our patient information. And then our servers are either on-prem, which just means on premises. I don't know why we had to abbreviate that, but the servers are on-prem or they're in the cloud. And so, you know, like Pioneer, for example, you have a server on site, but the data is also in the cloud. QS1, the data is pretty strictly on-prem. So it's just interesting to learn now that the cards are kind of on the table a bit with DIR. We should be able to apply some business analytics to it to tell us what the heck to do. Push on this, pull back on this. This is not where you should be focusing your business. And then there's just so many opportunities clinically when we talk about long-term care at home and medical at home, because there's some new payer opportunities there. It's exciting.
Yeah. That's a
I'll
big
tell you, those
opportunity
pharmacies that have jumped on that long-term care at home heavy, boy, it's paying right now. It is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm still watching it. And of course I want more analytics around it because it's plan specific. So you have to be able to identify your patients. I mean, most pharmacies are already providing these services anyways. You're doing the delivery, you're doing the adherence packaging, you have patients with activities of daily living issues or transportation or mobility issues. So they already qualify. And, you know, you're still doing the volume game with those long-term care patients. You're filling a lot of prescriptions. So if you can increase, like, so you guys are seeing on the books, like an actual increase?
For sure.
Awesome.
I'm definitely seeing those that are heavy in long-term care. It's their margins.
And people are
high.
definitely into it or looking into it as a, you know, an option.
Yeah.
In addition to what they're doing to offset
Because
some
like
of
you
the
said, their
squeezing.
patients are already there.
Right.
So it's just, getting them into that program, if you will.
Yeah. And I think it's just smart to apply data analytics to everything that we can to get it all in real time in front of us. Pharmacies are just kind of swimming in data right now, and they don't really know how to discern it. So typically in other industries, I've been researching other industries quite a bit too, and learning a lot. And in other industries, I mean, you would hire a consultant like McKinsey or something like that to come in and analyze like what's going on with my business and what should I do. Independent pharmacy, we don't really do that. I mean, there's consultants that exist. I've been one for the better part of a decade, but still it's inefficient, especially given like the profit margin that pharmacies have and the dollars that they have to work with. There's not a lot of dollars at the end of the day in independent pharmacies to be able to spend on non-essential functions. So if you could get some sort of data analytics tool that shows these pharmacies, even based on all your unique isms, that's not a word, this is what you should do. You should you have, 67 patients on this one plan where they do recognize long-term care at home billing.
Mm-hmm.
And then these are the steps and the attestations and the things that you should do to be able to bill for those patients. That's one side of the spectrum. Because, we have pharmacies we work with in rural Alabama. I love to pick on them, and they're heavy in long-term care. But then we have pharmacies in Miami, Dallas area, even California, where they're, they have a higher cash pay population. They're not really into long-term care. And they're really doing well with the weight loss, all the GLP stuff, cash.
Yeah.
So there's just tons of opportunity. It's just a matter
you got to
of
figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
In your area,
And then,
for sure.
and then make a plan and double down on it. So I feel like hopefully we're coming out of the double DIR situation. Hopefully cash flow will start to stabilize.
I think we got a couple more weeks of that care mark.
Yeah.
Was it mid-May, I believe, somewhere around there?
One more.
Definitely by the end of May, it'll all be over, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. So I talk with a lot of, we have like single store owners where, the owner works the bench and they're trying to get out and visit doctors or even just call offices, email offices, Facebook message offices to try to grow their business. And then we have just multi-store, multi-state owners too. Of course, the smaller operators are really nervous and concerned with all these cash flow issues. And we're hearing these like doom and gloom metrics too, right? That 20 to 30% of pharmacies might close this year. And I mean, there's 2022 NCPA Digest, there were like, actually have the number here, 19,432 independent pharmacies. So if you're talking 20, 30% closure, I mean, that makes up almost half the pharmacies in the country. There's just over 56,000 pharmacies in this country total. So the smaller operators that I talk to, and rightfully so, they're concerned. And it won't take that much to push them into profitability.
Right.
So if you can get involved with the GLPs, because everybody and their mom's ordering them online from somewhere, we're really seeing that. And that's what the offices want. So during COVID, the offices wanted vaccines, they wanted testing. Now these offices want GLPs. They want somebody to counsel their patients. They want somebody to educate the patients on how to inject themselves. They want someone to educate the patients about protein intake and supplementation and things like that. So that's a huge opportunity.
It's just an entirely different environment in pharmacy than it was 4 or 5 years ago.
And we were talking this morning about the data.
That is the fun part.
Yeah. The data this morning, that's what we were talking about, is never before have I seen where the pharmacists themselves are really having to take this data almost every day and really look into the details of it and figure out what they're losing on, what they're making money on. And then groups, the person we were talking to, you have to look at family groups almost for some people to keep that client base. If it makes sense, not just looking at the drug itself, but everything that entire family maybe feels. And it's a lot.
It is a lot. And even the smartest of us can't quite figure out, and I'm not that person, but the smartest of us figure that out. I work with Ben Jolly quite a bit in the Pharmacy Inside Out group, and he's so great at giving information and posting on the Facebook groups and all that. And I mean, it's complicated even for him.
Right.
So by design, we're not supposed
He's a smart dude.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. He's the smartest of the smart.
He's a smart guy.
So we're
You just
not,
see his brain working.
yeah.
He's a smart dude.
So we're not supposed to figure this out. I mean, by design. And then once you do figure it out, as we've seen in the past with different analytics tools that I've been a part of building, once you do figure it out,
it's going to change.
They have algorithms. Yeah. And they're like, all right, we're going to turn that spigot off. So that's just how it works. So definitely.
So when is that going to happen to the long-term care at home piece?
I mean, it's not home runs. I mean, we all know you can't hit these home runs in this and make yourself a target and risk that much in audit. It's just the risk tolerance that we all have is not there. Risk your contracts. Like, you can't do that.
Right.
But with the long-term care at home, I think that's like singles. And then you can do it at volume too. And you can do it across multiple plans. And I think it's only going to expand. So I think that's a long-term strategy for long-term care. So there's tons of opportunity for smaller operators, definitely in the GLP space.
Yeah.
But for the larger operators,
talk to me about the GLP space. Like how, I mean, right now they're getting reimbursed. Less.
Yeah, no. So not the brand names, not the brand name.
Are you talking about compounding?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I've learned so much in, I've learned so much, and I've done a ton of webinars on them inside of our software tool, and we're even doing more. It's hard when you layer a gray area on top of a gray area on top of a gray area sometimes. So now I do think, and I had a webinar with Friar Levitt too, and I really held them to it and asked specifically, they talk all legalese, but I'm like, do you think this is a good idea? Do you think pharmacy should do this? And they said, yes, it is. But probably the grayest place we can go is utilizing a 503B pharmacy for commercial copies of the compounded GLPs. So that's what I mean by gray on top of gray. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even really understand this fully, but when you think about what's the difference between 503A and 503B pharmacy, and then we start to think about, are you talking about 340B? No, I'm not talking about that at all. That's a totally different thing. But if you talk about 503A, that's a normal pharmacy who compounds. That's just your regular pharmacy. When I had my store, we were a hybrid. We were a 503A. It just means that, you compound the things, you dispense them pursuant to a prescription, patient specific. You're not a manufacturer. You're not a wholesaler. You're not making big batches of compounds. You can do some anticipatory compounding, but basically what you're making is for a specific patient. When you get into 503B, that's when it becomes a manufacturing situation. So 503Bs are actually registered with the FDA, and it's national. They're inspected by the FDA. They have to comply with CGMP, the good manufacturing practices. They're viewed and inspected, and they're held to the standards of an actual manufacturer in this country, whereas traditional pharmacies, 503As, are not. And the 503A traditional pharmacies are regulated by the state boards. Mm-hmm. So what we've kind of learned, and you could always do this. The FDA did put out some draft guidance to clarify in June of 2023. But you could always, as a traditional 503A pharmacy, you can buy from a 503B, just like you buy from Cardinal and McKesson and buy something off Trexaid. You can buy from a 503B, put it on your shelf, and then just dispense it when a prescription comes in for it. That's a little gray because some state boards aren't used to that, and pharmacies aren't used to that. That's not something we ever really do. Mm-hmm. But for example, one of the 503Bs that I work with, they have an eye drop product. So it takes 3 different eye drops, preservative free, and puts it in one drop. And so patients who have cataract surgery, they only have to use that one compounded eye drop, and the pharmacies can sell it to them for less than their copay. Usually if you were to get the brand name drugs. So pharmacies can buy that eye drop, like any mom and pop in the country can buy that eye drop from a 503B, put it on the shelf, go market to their doctors, like their cataract surgeons. Hey, we have this. They could write the prescription. Sometimes, though, the state boards are getting involved. And even though the 503B is licensed to ship into your state through your state board, the state boards are getting involved and saying, well, no, you can't do that. It's a draft guidance from the FDA. We have to wait till it's final. That's not really how pharma works. Final guidance through the FDA takes 7 years sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's not, you act on best practices. You act on guidance. So then that's a little bit of a gray area. 503B selling to a 503A. Then now we have the GLPs. So now you have patented products from Lilly, patented from Novo, but they're on the FDA shortage list. So since they're on the shortage list, a 503B can compound a commercial copy. So they're using the same amount of phenol, the same amount of the active ingredient. They're actually buying the API, the active ingredient powder of semaglutide or tirzepatide. They're buying it from the same manufacturing plants in China and India who supply Lilly and Novo, which is crazy. So they're compounding a commercial copy, and then the 503Bs can sell them to pharmacies. So long story short, too late. The GLP opportunity is you own a pharmacy. You have patients coming in looking for these brand name drugs. They're on the shortage list. I can't order them. I don't really want to order them because I don't want to pay $1,000, $1,500 to get this drug, bill it through the insurance, bill it through the coupon, lose $50 to $500, wait to get paid. I don't want to do that. It's not good business. So they'll send it to the chains or they'll turn it away or they'll just say, I can't get it because they can't. However, if, and these patients, they're paying $500. Sometimes they're paying sometimes more. Sometimes they're paying the whole cash price, $1,200, whatever it is. These patients, if you can buy a commercial copy of that drug, since the patent is kind of on a shelf right now because they can't supply enough anyway. If you can buy a commercial copy from a 503B that's licensed in your state, and then you go tell the doctors in your town, hey, we have a commercial copy of the compound from an FDA registered and inspected facility. Since it's on the shortage list, this is how it works. If you want to write a prescription for your patients for this, they would have to write it for the generic name. They can't write it for the brand name because they're not AB rated. There's no available generic. But if you write for this specific generic name, we can dispense it for that patient that comes in. And then, doc, your patient's not going to some online Yahoo pharmacy, getting their shipment in the mail, hot, who knows, you don't want your patient to get a vial and some syringes in the mail. What do they do with that? So there's pharmacies that we work with doing 500 of these a month, 700, 1,300 actually, Annie just saw in our data set today. So that's a lot. And we're seeing an average margin of, I had to think, is this a CE? Not a CE. We're seeing an average margin of at least $100 per prescription, sometimes up to $400 or $500 per prescription, depending on your market, depending on your competition, where you're at. But even with those price points and those margins, it's still a better option for your patient because it's still cheaper than they would be getting these shortage branded products that you can't get anyway.
And there's a big demand, like you said.
Yeah, it's huge. And that's what the doctors want. Just like they wanted all the COVID stuff and all the patients wanted all the COVID stuff. And we had never experienced anything like that before. Patients coming to us asking for all these things that we wanted to sell. And here we are again. This is the next opportunity. So some state boards are being a little crazy though. And they're kind of still deciding or telling pharmacies that they shouldn't be ordering from 503Bs. It's not valid. And they can't cite anything in any literature that I've been able to find to date. And I've been looking for months and talking with a lot of different pharmacies. We've even called state boards and talked with them and sent them information. We got a pretty good movement and opinion in Georgia, working with some of our pharmacies there, and now they're able to do it. But I have pharmacies in Massachusetts who, yes, we think it's okay to do, but their board is still on the fence. And they're like, listen, it's not worth it for me to anger my board.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just, might I win? Yeah, maybe. But they can make my life pretty miserable.
For everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's a lot of gray areas layered on top of each other. But really, at the end of the day, when this opportunity is done with the GLPs, meaning that Novo and Lilly and they're able to keep up, the drugs come off the shortage list, you still might be able to compound like the sublingual or like a different dosage form. Still might be able to do that depending on the patents. I tried looking it up too. I thought it was just going to be like one simple patent. Oh no.
Oh, what, like 20 of them?
Oh my gosh, at least. I couldn't make heads or
Yeah.
tails of it. So there's that. So who knows if you're going to be able to, now I understand why patent attorneys make so much money.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows if you're going to be able to make a different dosage form compound once they come off the shortage list. But what are you supposed to say? Make hay while the sun's shining? What do we do on farms? Is that what we do? You do
Sounds
that.
right.
Do that. Assuming you want hay. I don't know.
Yeah, I was talking to a heavy compounder. He said he's planning on this lasting a couple years, and then who knows from there. But
you hate to have it pass you by.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that time Scotty and I almost got into the COVID testing.
Yeah.
We let it pass us by.
That was a good time.
COVID testing was everywhere.
That was a good time.
Same thing. COVID testing came, well, and then it
went away.
You always have the bell curve.
There's always those, new and hot things, and you got to jump on that stuff any chance you can.
You do. I mean, pharmacists and pharmacy owners are typically risk averse, which is good, and we're very used to things having to be perfect. That's how we were trained. When you check a prescription, it's got to be perfect. Can't be good enough, close enough.
Black and white.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
In business, I've been reading this book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things. And it was awful. I'll probably have to read it again because it was just, my mentor made me read it, which I admire and appreciate. But it was about being the CEO of a software company, which that's what I am now. And just how the job of the CEO, the job of the person in that seat is to make the decisions with the information that you have available at that time. And if you go kind of one way or the other too much, if you wait and you're like, I don't have enough information to make this decision, I need to wait, you're not being aggressive enough. You're going to let opportunities pass you by and the business will fail. But if you're reckless on the other end and you just hip shot, make these decisions and don't even assess any data or seek any outside opinion or do it, then the business will also fail. So, but that's the job. Somebody's got to make the decisions and somebody has to discern the data. Somebody has to you just use your historical, just knowledge and use what resources you have. But, you'll never have enough information to be 100% sure, like you have to be when you check a prescription. Right. You check the prescription, you're like, I am sure this is correct. But in business, that's not how it works.
Yeah, they've got to be able to flip the switch.
Yeah. And we all learn.
Which is hard. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just awful. I hate the feeling of when you realize you're like, oh, wow, I'll never do it that way again.
So long-term care, the compounding piece with the GLP-1s, what else?
What else? So in doing a lot of research and understanding how pharmacies need to dedicate more of their budget to data analytics, now that we have more data available to us, we need to get more information in to help drive our decisions. Now that the DIR is not retroactive, now that we can identify the patients, both for GLPs, you can run reports and identify which patients and doctors you should market that to, and for long-term care at home, understanding which payers pay, which patients align in that. So with all that, what's interesting is the average pharmacy, according to the digest, top line is 4,847,000. which of course that varies greatly. But if you say it's a $5 million pharmacy across the board as an average, in the healthcare industry, businesses spend 4 to 8% of their revenue on IT in healthcare. Now that could be imaging, that could be the EHR software, that could be a lot of things. In retail, because I kind of feel like pharmacy straddles healthcare and retail.
Mm-hmm.
It's both sectors, really. So
for sure. It's retail on steroids.
Yeah. So retail entities spend between 2 and 5% of their revenue on IT. So point of sale systems, inventory management systems, even things like CRMs, which I know that's kind of become my life's work here, but pharmacies don't really work in CRMs, which is a customer relationship management tool, but that's how you drive your sales funnels. And that's how you just analyze, these are my top prescribers, these are my top patients, these are the messaging that I need to do, these are my lead and lag measures, that's how you push your levers to grow the profitability in your business. But anyhow, when I was doing this math, I was like, okay, healthcare is between 4 and 8%, retail is between 2 and 5%. If we call it 5%, if we say pharmacies are supposed to be spending 5% on their IT, of course, it has to earn a return on the investment. Anything that you spend money on, especially in retail, it has to earn a return on the investment. But I don't think you can take it, and let me know what you think. I don't think you can apply this math on the top line because pharmacies' top lines don't really matter. You could be selling specialty drugs and you're a $20 million store, but you have a 5% profit margin or something. Or you could be a traditional pharmacy, $5 million a year, 20%, and that's healthy, but 20% gross profit. But then you still have to pay all your operating costs. So what do they say? I know they used to say back in the day, a good pharmacy operator will net at the end of everything after all operations, what, between 4 and 8%?
3 and 7.
All right, close enough. Between 3 and 7. So that's good. So even if you take that 3 and 7% and invest your IT budget on that, like what are the IT expenses that pharmacies usually buy? So your PMS.
Yep.
And you have to have that.
Which is a good chunk.
It is a good chunk. And it seems to be going up just everywhere across the board.
Yep.
But your PMS, and then you're going to have just whatever else you need. Phone systems, whatever else you're going to have.
IVR,
IVR, maybe you pay for reconciliation services. Maybe you pay for some medical billing outside of your PMS. If you're doing anything like that. But surprisingly to me, even with all that data and looking at other industries, pharmacies don't traditionally spend or have a budget for their sales department or their sales and marketing arm. Or, I mean, maybe marketing, like back in the day, it used to be newspaper ads and radio ads and things like that. But that's not really the lever to push to drive profitability anymore. So I feel like now is the time to actually build out those analytics tools. And I mean, that's what I'm working on. We have our CRM with prescribers in this, but I have plans and a really great dev team lined up with us at Atrium to specifically build out payer analytics, patient analytics, and show pharmacies with triggers, because I used to work for PDS. My joke lately is I used to work for PDS. Don't hold it against me because it's kind of polarizing, which is strange. But at PDS, we learned a lot about the behaviors of pharmacy owners. So I'm working on the data pieces, but you can't just death by data, just hit these people over the head with all these data. It's like, all right, that's great, but I got 6 fires going on out here.
Yeah, I mean, give me the short and sweet on this. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are ways to put the data in front of the right people at the right time through triggers and through tasks and through these are your top opportunities. And I've learned a lot too over the past probably 5 years, really head down on this. One of my best friends is a software engineer. He works for a big national company, but he lives here locally. Our kids go to school together and everything. And he does the, what is he, like the product manager for multi-million and billion-dollar like government projects. And so his job is keeping everything on the timeline, keeping everything on budget, informing everybody like, is the whole project working? Because they say in software, plan that it'll cost twice as much and it'll take twice as long. And I hate that, but it's so true. But he always says it doesn't matter what you build. You have to assume nobody's going to look at it. So whatever you build, it has to be exactly what you said, Scotty, like do this. This is the very specific thing you need to do today.
Yep.
And if you don't get to it today, this is your list for tomorrow. And it's a little different based on the best opportunity. So are we there yet? No, I don't think anybody is, but that's where I'd like to go.
Yeah.
And Dotti.
How is
We're
Dotti?
talking about Hottie Dotti right now. Dotti.
Yeah. She's young, but when she grows up, that's the girl I see her being.
That's great.
She's just going to be a lady with all her stuff together. She's just going to tell everybody straight what to do.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But she's doing really well. We're really helping pharmacies in the GLP space because I've been digging in on the data side and on the content side to just really, because like, and I've been getting positive feedback too, because it's a tricky dance being out there and it's like give and take. I ask a lot of questions, but I don't ever want to be such a taker from people and industry experts. Right. And like, I don't want to just kind of like, oh, here comes Nicolette. She's going to ask me for all these questions and all this insight. So I try to understand their pain points too, connect them to people, like just make it valuable for both, like, so that people don't cringe when I call them. Scotty, I'm sure I bother you all the time about numbers too. And I appreciate
I'll get a text message here and there.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
you're like,
whatever.
Yay. Yeah. But it's important that like in the GLP space, the positive feedback that we've had is, you've saved me a whole lot of time because I don't have the time to go research all this myself. So that's what I strive to do. I understand the pharmacy owner, user, the pharmacist, the workflow of the pharmacy billing, all that fun stuff. And so when I'm out kind of vetting these companies or trying to discern all the data or all the data points or all the decisions that pharmacy owners have to make, it's like, you can tell pretty quick which opportunities you should run away from. And then which ones might have some merit, but then they have to check certain boxes. So the webinars that we've been doing and putting in Dotti have been going really well. We've been having a lot of people just watch them and take action from them, which is exciting. And then we've created a ton of marketing materials. So it used to be me making all like the clinical marketing materials, like the RX order forms, because you have to have the drug name and the strength and the dosage form and the SIG and the quantity, especially for compounds. Then you have to have information sheets to educate the prescribers about the compounds, pricing information, vendor information, where to buy all the stuff from. And then you have to have patient information. So patient bag stuffers, social media posts, even like the images, all the kinds of things. So I was trying to do all that, but now I'm trying to also keep Dotti stable so she doesn't fall in on herself as we grow, because we've been growing pretty rapidly, and that scares me a bit too. But we've been investing a ton in the infrastructure of the tool. So now we have a clinical pharmacist, Annie, and she's been with us 2 years, but she's really dug in, and her job is to do all the clinical work. So it's
the
kind
marketing
of
pieces and stuff like that.
Yeah, even like the sell sheets to prescribers. There's a lot of words that have to go on there, and you can't really have like a graphic designer from the internet do it because they don't know. There's gonna be like, tell us what to put on the thing.
Yeah.
So Annie's been really great doing that. Jen's still here doing her thing, talking to a bunch of pharmacies because she's our Eli Lilly rep. Yeah. So she's helping these pharmacies. Her main point with the GLPs is like, listen, this is what your prescribers want to hear right now. So go give them the message. But this is your way in. So don't let this be the beginning and end. Let this be the thing that builds your relationship with the office, so that when this goes away, they're looking to you for the next thing they need. And so this is a perfect time when they want to see you, when they want to talk to you about the GLPs, when they're having a pain point. This is the perfect time to come in and help solve for that need and then build and maintain the relationship.
That's the truth.
Yep. And you can't do it without a CRM. Because what happens if you have a rep out doing it, then they leave? They had a spreadsheet, where the spreadsheet go? Maybe they're not documenting. So if you walk into an office, you need to know, have we been here? Have we done a lunch? What did we tell them? What did they ask? Who's who in this office? So that's where a CRM comes into place. You can just log all your interactions. Mm-hmm. So it's been going good. There's just a lot more work to do.
Always be more work to do.
Yeah.
Every single day.
That'll never stop. Always be more work to do.
Especially for you guys, all the tax law and all that fun stuff changes all the time.
You know, we're going to have a tax change coming up next year or so with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So that'll be fun. That'll be busy.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. We'll have all the updates for pharmacies. Yeah, you know, it's
none of us are in occupations that you can just like learn and be really good at and then you master it and it's over. It's a continuous.
Yeah.
It's always changing.
Continuous learning.
True.
Well, Nicolette, Bonnie, you want to do the bottom line segment? I know I got to call it coming up here, coming up on our
Thanks for jumping on again with us, Nicolette.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Touch base with you again a few months and see how everything's going.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll see you guys at the summer shows.
Yeah, wish your first one.
We're going to be there.
Yeah, we'll be at Pioneer.
Scotty will not be at Pioneer.
I will not be there.
Yeah, you're having a baby.
I'm having a baby.
Aw.
He's not having a baby.
No, you're not. Wife.
No, I'm definitely not. I don't know how y'all ladies do it. I really don't. I mean,
I don't know.
It's one of those things like after you do it, you're like, how did I do that? In the moment, it's like
been sick the whole time.
I was wondering about that because I told Jen that your wife's having a baby and she was talking to you at NCPA and she was asking you. She was being nosy like she does, asking you if you're going to have more kids and this. You're like, I don't know. Carol has a pretty tough time. So we were wondering how she's doing.
She looks great though.
Struggling. Oh, she looks great. Beautiful. She's wonderful. Yes.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, she's so little.
Oh, and you don't know if it's a boy or a girl, right?
No, we don't know.
I think it's a girl. I'm guessing girl right now on the podcast.
She's half the size she was with Pete, so it's gonna be a small petite. But Carol's only like 5'1".
Yeah, she's little.
Tall.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a petite little baby, whatever it is. So.
Do you have? How does
it
this
may not be? You never know.
Yeah, right. Do you have names picked out for boy or girl, or how does this work?
Now you're talking to the wrong person. I put the crib together.
You let her name the baby 100%.
Huh?
She can name the baby 100%. It's on her.
We can't figure out a name.
Yeah.
That baby's not gonna have a name for a day or two.
That's how I was. I couldn't finalize
We're gonna
anything
butt heads
until
on that. She's stubborn. I'm a little stubborn, so it'll be fun.
I can't imagine. Talking about data, I want to know all the metrics and data and things of the baby I can. I want to know every single thing. I want to know the gender immediately.
We have another employee that's having a baby around the same time too, so it's super exciting around here.
Oh,
she doesn't know what she's having either, so it's like,
this is insanity.
Yeah, it's great. It's lots of fun, especially when it's not me.
Yeah, right.
I get to come see the babies, and I get to go home and sleep.
Oh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I had 3 kids in 3 years, like 3-year time span, and so I named the first 2.
How is that even possible?
I don't know.
It only takes 9 months, Scotty.
That's right.
I guess. I don't know.
It was awful and wonderful.
That is a really good way to explain it. Yes.
I had
all
3
at the same time.
They asked me questions.
Talk about checking that box.
Like, done.
She knocked it out quick. And see, mine are spaced out forever. So
yeah, you have 4 of them, right?
Yeah, but they're like, I have one graduating high school.
On the same T-ball team.
Yes, we did T-ball last night. That was fun.
And tonight.
And tonight.
Don't forget, 7:00.
Yeah. Fun fact, I have one going to college next year and one starting kindergarten.
Aw. Hey, that's different ways to do it.
It's different ways to do it, yes.
Because my kids ask me like questions about when they were little. I'm like, dude, I don't remember. I'm like, it's a blur. I don't know. We got here. We're good. There are 13.
You're alive. You're healthy.
13, 12, and 10 right now. I don't know.
All that matters.
But I named my first two girls. I named Juliet and Josette because I'm Nicolette. My mom's Annette, and her sisters are Charlotte and Claudette. Her mom's Antoinette. I'm like, if it's a girl, if it's a girl, I'm naming the girl. So we have Julie and Josie are our girls.
And then Dottie's thrown in there somewhere. Dottie's she's over there like, what is going on here?
That's right. What's happening?
Black sheep over there, Dotti.
Well, I finally had a boy, my third one. And so I told my husband, I was like, all right, fine, you can name a kid. Well, he named him Fisher.
Oh,
like being a fisherman. It's very literal. But it suits him. He's a little guy. He's a cute little tiny little 10-year-old guy, 4th grader. But so we call him Big Fish because he's not big.
Love it.
Yeah. So who knows? You might get a big fish or something similar. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, I've seen people that they say, oh, they're so small and they're going to have a small baby, and then a 9-pounder pops out. So
right. See?
No, this ain't going to be no 9-pounder.
You need some sort of like accounting.
Tiny. You know how little Carol is.
You got any like accounting nicknames? You know, like Fisher for the fishermen. You got like... We got to ask ChatGPT about this.
Yeah.
Yes, Scotty, get ChatGPT to name your baby.
Yes, that's the best idea.
He loves ChatGPT.
Hey, you know, ChatGPT is great for like if you want to write a policy.
Yes. We need to write
for so many things. Oh my gosh.
You need to be in the pharmacy by 8 a.m. and da-da-da. I mean, you
write
could just
employee
like do a policy
handbook for whatever.
You know what I've been using it for? I have been known to write a spicy email or two. And then I get frustrated because I'm like, it's just direct.
It's too much. Yeah, it's too harsh, or I need to take some time. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm like, Nicolette.
Yeah. Well, it's just direct. It's like this. And then I'm busy over here. I'm ADD. I'm doing all these things. So I don't put the pleasantries in there, and it's not so nice. I don't mean it that way.
I don't think personally.
No.
Good. So, but for the people I don't know that well, see, that's a compliment. If I send you just a real direct email and you're like, dang, that means we're close. We're friends. We're good. I don't care about hurting your feelings. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's a compliment. But if it's to, people where I don't know them that well, or they don't know that I'm not being aggressive, I'll put it in ChatGPT and I'll be like, make this nicer.
I do that.
Great for that.
I do that.
It is.
And as a matter of fact, Alan notices it because he also loves to use it. And he called me out on, there was an email I had to write one day a few weeks ago that was, it needed to be aggressive. So I just wrote it. And he sent back, because he was CC'd on it, and he said, I could tell you did not send that through, AI. And I was like, I did not.
Oh, see?
I didn't. You are correct. That one had to go out as is.
The opposite. Sometimes I'll say that, like, make this very direct. Because if you're talking to software developers, what I've learned is no pleasantries.
Just get
to the point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I need this data field mapped here. When will it be done?
Yep.
Any other words, you're not going to get their attention. You're not going to get them. So it's different.
Well, bottom line.
That's a good one. My bottom line, it's all about the data. We just learned that this morning with another call we had.
We did.
I mean, it's at a point you can't just fill and pray anymore, obviously, but you've got to look at what you're doing and look at the data behind it, help you make decisions.
Yeah.
Nicolette, what do you want to leave the listeners with today?
My bottom line, now is the time to dig into your business, to identify the levers that you specifically should push to drive profitability, so that you can support the structure of your business and the employees and the patients and the prescribers that you serve. But now is the time, with double DIR, with things being more transparent, and with all these opportunities out there, now's the time to really dig in to your data, of course, and invest in whatever it takes for you to actually be able to see those levers and push them.
And my bottom line is just that. You got to look at every aspect of your business now. What revenue's coming in? Is it profitable revenue? And you got to really find that profitable revenue and run with it. because it's out there. You just got to find it.
Yep.
You got to find what works for you. So with that, Nicolette, thanks again for hopping on.
Thank you.
And all our listeners out there, thanks for listening in, and we'll see you on another episode of the Bottom Line Pharmacist Podcast.